What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, everybody, let's return back to our Marvel slate for 2025. We're halfway through 2025, over halfway through the slate. Next up is Fantastic Four First Steps, and we're getting ready to drop another piece on the game board sometime within the next week. Look, I think it's going to be another flop. I'm just going to call it like I see it right now. I don't think this movie is making any money at all. And that's really not necessarily because of the quality of Fantastic Four First Steps. Fantastic Four First Steps might legitimately be a good movie, but I think people are just checked out from the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. A lot of y'all said that about Thunderbolts. Oh, Thunderbolts is a good movie, but guess what? It still flopped. And I think we're going to be looking at the exact same thing with the Fantastic Four First Steps. I think it's going to be a flop. You know, that's just my personal opinion. And a lot of y'all are coming at me like, hey, DA, it's not fair, bro. You don't have a good stamp anywhere on your options. All right? You already are coming at it from a negative standpoint. You don't have good anywhere up here. And I said, all right, cool. We'll add good. All right. So now we got a good stamp in the event that this thing isn't a flop. Because look, it can be good, like we just talked about with Thunderbolts. It can be good and still flop. And right now, I don't think the quality has anything to do with it. I think people are just checked out. I think people are done with the MCU. You know, it had its run in the first three phases. They had an opportunity to come back in phases 4, 5, and 6 with something interesting. They've already shit-canned Kang as a villain. So it's like, all right, man, they don't know what they're doing. It's all over the place. It's this multiverse nonsense. They threw a whole lot of heat at us, made us do a whole lot of homework. A lot of this is just mid-trash, mid to trash, or epic fail, or what the fuck, or flop, whatever. That's what a lot of these Marvel shows have been. And so, yeah, I don't think people are checking for it anymore. They'll watch it on Disney Plus if they care at all. So, yeah, I still think it's going to flop, you know. But, yeah, a lot is riding on it. All right, they spent a ton of bread, you know, over $200 million. And plus, the marketing has just been wild. They probably spent another $200 million in marketing alone. We're probably talking about somewhere between $700 to $800 million just to break even. I don't think it's happening. And yeah, it's only going to start with $100 million plus opening, which means if it's going to get to that $800 million worldwide, it's going to have to leg it out. All right, it's going to have to leg this thing all the way up to wherever it needs to be. You know, and they got a lot of tie-in plush merchandising, popcorn buckets. There's a lot of stuff that has been associated with this movie. And then, of course, it got Soy Boy Pascal. Soy Boy Pascal as Reed Richards. You got Silver Surf Her, okay? You got a girl boss named Sue. You got cucked Johnny Storm. You got a lot of problems with this movie that's just making people turn away from it off rip. Okay, not only that, they had to already shit-can John Malkovich's Red Ghost, all right? Red Ghost cut from the Fantastic Four. Director says it was heartbreaking not to include him because they did all these test screenings. A lot of test screenings, and people were probably coming back and saying, why is this dude in there? He can be cut. He doesn't need to be in there. He's pointless. He was in like the very first trailer. It was like a blink and you miss it moment. So it was like they almost didn't want him in there anyway. It was like, yeah, we don't really need John in there, all right? We can cut him loose. That's good. But in any case, we're starting to get some first reactions. You know how the first reactions go, ladies and gentlemen. It's always industry boys. All right, the industry boys are going to come out and they're going to clap and cheer like baby seals for whatever the industry is putting out, especially if it's Disney. So they clapped and cheered for this. Fantastic Four first reactions. Praise, immaculate VFX, pitch perfect script. One of the best things Marvel has ever made. You know how it goes. We're so fucking back. Marvel is back. Yeah, they're going to say all of that just like they said with the Thunderbolts, just like they said with Ironheart. Yeah, Marvel ain't back. Marvel is dead. It's dead. It's dying off slowly. All right. But yeah, we do have some of those initial reactions. Yeah, let's go ahead and go through a couple of these. This guy, Brandon Davis, Fantastic Four First Steps is visually one of the best things Marvel has ever made. Parts feel like Interstellar and demand IMAX. Galactus is awesome. Silver Surfer looks really, really good. VFX were often immaculate. Cosmically and on Earth, Max Shatman dropped a visual feast. Nothing about the story, mind you, okay? Nothing like, hey, man, this is a great story and you're going to love it. So if you're a VFX nerd and you just love visual effects, all right, maybe this movie's for you. But I'm always of the opinion, like, you know, after we got past like the 90s, like, okay, and maybe even the mid 2000s, it's kind of like, I want a good story. We kind of expect the visual effects to be good. And if they're not, we're going to talk shit about them. But like telling me that the visual effects are really, really, really good and you need to see it in IMAX, I don't know about that. The story, and all that other stuff, that matters a lot more to me at this stage of the game than visual effects. This guy, Brian from Brian Long Films. Yeah, like I said, industry guys, right? The guy's a filmmaker, so they bring him in because he's friendly to making films and he, wants to be on their good boy list. I came in tempered, but Fantastic Four is truly a return to form for the MCU. The opening minutes blew my socks off in IMAX. Gardner's and Quinn's work stood out the most. Galactus gives this film real stakes, and his presence is felt even off screen. Incredible miniature work. All right, so again, more stuff about the visual effects. Say, yeah, man, the visual effects got the job done. Again, I don't care about that. That might look great, but at the end of the day, man, look, I care about the story. Is the story any good? That's what really matters. This guy, George McKay, Fantastic Four, quite possibly the best Marvel Studios film ever released. Okay. Better than Winter Soldier, better than the OG Avengers, better than Infinity War. It beats the socks off of everything. It's that good. All right. That's why you start just looking at these cats like, come on, really? You had to go and try to sell it like that? Don't gaslight me, bro. Seriously. Absolutely loaded with talent and standout performances from Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn. Where's Pedro? He didn't do it. He didn't get it done. If you thought the MCU died with Endgame, think again. Thoughtfully crafted and easily a genre-defining classic. Yeah, again, I go right back to what I was saying. I think that the MCU, even though this movie might be, decent, the MCU just isn't it anymore. It's just not what people are coming to check out. It had its time. Now, look, I still think Spider-Man will do well. I still think Avenger team-up movies will do well because, people like that. Just like Superman will always do pretty good in the theaters, even if the movie itself isn't that great. Or even if it's mid, like I call the current Superman mid, and look, I like Superman. I'm a Superman fan, but I just call it like I see it. I think Superman will still do decent numbers in the box office. Same with Batman. Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, Avenger, team-up movies, all of those are going to be fine. But just regular stuff like Fantastic Four, I just don't think people are checking for it. Nobody's really ever checked for the Fantastic Four like that, so I just think that's what it is. Fantastic Four is a masterpiece. The visual effects and score are a huge standout. Galactus is huge in IMAX. It's emotional and gives you hope. It beats you off, and it beats you off?
Pause.
And doesn't stop. Stay until the end credits. All right, so that's what Dio had to say. It beats you off. Interesting. My Fantastic Four review is propulsive, grade A entertainment, fluent in political theory and cinematic history, sexy, provocative, tight as a drum, and thrilling tactile. Bring tissues, but not because you're going to cry. Wait, what?
Pause.
What the fuck is going on? Why else would you need some tissues? What the hell is happening? First, this dude says it beats you off, right? And then this dude says bring some tissues, but not because you're going to cry. Yikes, man. Yeah, these people are weird, man. These people are fucking weird. I'm sorry, man. Look, a lot of folks ain't gonna be rocking with this type of shit, man. The Fantastic Four is an incredible movie. The first 60 minutes are fantastic, but in general, the whole movie is honestly magical. If you go into this movie with your expectations high, prepare for your mind to still be blown. It's that good. Also, stay around for the end credits. Yeah, man. There's a lot of, talk of the end credits. I've heard that already, that people are saying, the end credits are dope. All right, so yeah, and everybody stays for the end credits with Marvel nowadays, so that's just to be expected. Fantastic Four is what Marvel needed. Family dynamics are there, and the stakes are high. Everyone is perfectly cast, and Vanessa Kirby as Sue is a standout. Matt Shackman reminds us why we loved his work in WandaVision and why we'll love this film. Yeah, so we're hearing a lot about Sue, all right? We heard a lot about Johnny Storm, Silver Surfer, her, visual effects. Nothing about Mr. Fantastic. Pedro just kind of lost in the sauce, right? He's a background character because nobody's mentioned him. And we read about 6 or 7 of these things. All right. So, yeah, again, that's what I expected. All right. This person saying early reactions calling Fantastic Four a masterpiece. We are so fucking back. That's what everybody keeps saying, man. We're back. We're back. We're back. I don't think Marvel is ever going to get back to what they were in the first 3 phases. I think Marvel is already on the outside looking in when it comes to entertainment at this point. Anime has dominated. They're taking over. They're just gaining more and more market share. All right. Hollywood is falling fast. I think Marvel is probably looking at another 5 years of shelf life, if that, honestly, where they can make movies and hopefully get their money back. Like that kind of shelf life. If you make a $200 million movie, you're expecting somewhere north of $800 million. 600 is probably the break-even number. And I think these joints are barely going to break even. You know, that's just the way I see it right now. I think it's time for Hollywood to move on. I'm not happy about it. I think that superhero movies should have been able to have at least another 20-year run. And, you know, and you change it up and you do different things with it. But we might be near the end of the road. You know, when Blade started back in 1998, all the way up to 2025, hey, that's like 27 years. That's a solid run, okay? And it might get another 3 or 4 years. But I think by the time we get into the 2030s, I think it's a wrap. I don't think people are going to be making superhero movies anymore, but we'll see. Anyway, what do you guys expect from Fantastic Four? What stamp are we going to end up using? I still think it's going to be a flop. That's just where I'm at with it. But if it doesn't flop, will it be good? You know, doesn't necessarily, hey, look, a lot of interest is around this. Even if it doesn't flop, that don't mean it's good. But even if it does flop, that don't mean it's bad. It could still be a good movie, but we're still going to use that flop stamp in that case, all right? But you guys let me know what you think. Go ahead, jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.